here with Marilyn Farmer, and she's with Habitat Designs in San Luis Obispo and also Green Building Pages.
Right.
And Green Building Pages has been around for a long time. Habitat Design is an architectural studio, correct?
That's correct.
And how many years have you been doing that?
Architecture, gosh, about 20 years. And Green Building Pages is 8 years old.
Okay. And what's your specialty in architecture?
Sustainable design. We've been focusing on that since we opened our doors as architects.
Really?
Absolutely.
Terrific. And so in Green Building Pages, we're going to switch gears here and just talk about media for a second, because everybody's interested now in how to get their message out there a little bit more. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with Green Building Pages. It's been around for 8 years now, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And where did it start? Where is it now? And
started with a research project trying to provide information for myself, but then to all of our other architects in town, because they said, well, if we had that information, of course we would use this and design that way. So information since day one has been the obstacle in making sustainable design decisions, because we just didn't have the information, and we still don't have the information, adequate information today to make a good sustainable design decision in the building profession. Since the building profession has so much impact, long-term impact is sort of one of the key players in reducing global warming and creating a sustainable society. So the more we can educate the public, architects, professionals, developers about how to continue to do things but do it sustainably, the better off we will be as a nation, as a community, and certainly as a world. So getting that information out is our primary, has always been our primary focus from day one.
And how did you determine what is your criteria when you first set this up, that you're going to screen people by, and where's it going?
Well, we came up with a group of professionals that went over this idea of sustainable criteria from top to bottom, not just green, but sustainable, and that includes social criteria. So we were working on social criteria, incorporating those criteria 8 years ago before anybody else was talking about it. Social criteria meaning labor force, how you do business as a company, what are your wages, do you pay a living wage, those kinds of things, in addition to where the material comes from, the impacts on the environment. So it's all a three-legged stool. It's economic, it's environmental, and it's social. So we've been incorporating these from day one. And we came up with criteria. We developed our own system called Benchmarking Sustainability, and oddly enough, the ASTM 2129E Sustainable Product questionnaire is exactly what we had developed 8 years ago, which is great. That was put out by the EPA. We are probably one of the more comprehensive criteria for product evaluations out there, with the exception probably of SMART, which actually does all of the same criteria and then actually ups it a little bit more in terms of assessing the global climate impacts. So they do a little bit more excessive and sort of more of a life cycle assessment, a complete life cycle assessment. So, and they actually do one step further than we do. We don't certify anything. We ask all the questions, and we make all the questions and all the responses completely transparent. So no other resource guide does that. So somebody that wants to know about a product, to know what the information that they provided, what is missing from that information, they can also go in and ask that information themselves to these product manufacturers, so that it stimulates the product manufacturers to step up and provide that information so you can make a sustainable design decision.
And how many manufacturers do you have online now?
We have about 200 published product evaluations. We have another 300 in the process of providing information in various stages and evaluating. So the process is they register, they have to provide a lot of information, they submit it, we review it, we send them a preview page, and then they authorize the publication. So there's a number of steps in that process of getting published, including our reviewing that information.
Okay, terrific. And where do you want to see this go in the next couple of years?
Well, I certainly would like to see consumers realize they have the power to demand this information, number one, and that Green Building Pages is a good vehicle for demanding that information. It's also a good vehicle for getting that information. what would be, I think, very ideal is to actually also have that information certified, and that's where some of these third-party certifications come in that we don't do. So our goal is to just simply provide complete information that's transparent, and then the public will be able to make some decisions. Then the next step is to actually make sure that information is third-party certified, not verified by themselves, not verified by a industry associated with their product, but a completely unbiased third-party oversight certifier.
Terrific. And how can they get a hold of you?
greenbuildingpages.com.